So I hope you figured out that the empirical formula is the smallest whole number ratio of elements in a molecule or compound. And that means that all these guys are the empirical formula, while this one is not the empirical formula. Physical chemical properties are often very different. Whether it is an empirical or molecular formula can be determined if, now of course there's only two answer choices left. You're given the mass of one molecule and you've calculated the molar mass. So what that means is that we know that CH4 has one carbon, which weighs 12, and then we know that it has 4 hydrogens, and we know that each hydrogen is 1.01, and that's times 4. This whole thing is going to weigh 16.04 grams per mole. Now, if we're comparing it to the C2H6, C2H8, we know that one carbon is 12.01, but there's 2 of them. And then we know that hydrogen, 1.01 times 8. So let's bring our calculator in. Oops. We have 12.01 times 2 plus 1.01 times 8. That gives us that this is 32.1 grams per mole. First of all, this is exactly half of this. Does it make sense that the mass is half of this? So the last part of this statement right here, it says you can determine if you're talking about the empirical or the molecular if you're given the mass and you know the molar mass. So let's say that someone says, hey, I found a molecule. It weighs, the mass of it is this much. Is it the empirical or not? And I know that the empirical formula of it has that mass. I can say no. It should have this mass if it's the empirical, and it's going to have a different mass if it's the molecular. We're going to practice this right here. What is the molecular formula for C2H5? And this is the molar mass from the chart. If you add it up, that's what you get. That's grams per mole. And so this is the empirical, by the way. If you didn't catch it, that's the empirical. That's the molar mass of the empirical. Then we have the molecular mass is this number. So that's the molecular mass. We want to know what is the formula. So this is the large one. That's the molecular. And then this is the empirical. So molecular divided by empirical, the masses of them. We find out what it is. See, that's a 3. So then we just multiply each of these subscripts by 3. So 2 times 3 is 6. And 5 times 3 is 15. So, similar problem. Now we want to know what is the molecular formula of this. So this is the empirical. We know the empirical, and we know the empirical's molar mass. We want to know what is the molecular formula, which is the same thing we were talking about over here, if we have these different molar masses. So go ahead and do that math.